entrepreneurs who engage in feedback loops are always going to be more successful than ones who don't. Taking a day off every day, every week, is actually going to give you more money in the long run. You see, a lot of entrepreneurs think, okay, but I'm going to lose the money of that day, right? Or maybe I'm going to miss out on business that day. But you're actually going to miss out on far more business as a result of working all of those days than taking that specific day every week off. You see, the problem is entrepreneurs today really lack self-awareness. And I'll tell you why this is scary. Are you ready? Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, guys. There's a lot of pizzazz in the performance space, a lot of things that just don't make sense, right? A lot of things that are just extra, that are just untrue, right? And we're gonna break everything down today, inshallah. I'm gonna break everything down. And hopefully we can benefit by this video, inshallah. So make sure you stay around to the end, because I guarantee you in this, you're gonna hear some nuggets that you've probably never heard anywhere else.
Especially if you're an entrepreneur. I think the majority of business owners, you know, instead of building a business, they're building a prison for themselves. Like they've designed a life that is just entropic, basically.
I agree with you. I think this is the misunderstanding of entrepreneurship. When you look at entrepreneurs today, they think it's supposed to be like this, right? Life is supposed to be hectic and all of these things are supposed to be this way. Does that make sense? Like, this is the way to achieve success. You have to do it in this XYZ way. That's not true a lot of the time, all right? And that's one thing you just have to come to terms with, that it doesn't have to be a prison. Your company can scale. You can feel good. Life can be good. Now, it's not saying you're not going to be tested. You're not going to be stressed. It's, you don't allow things that occur to just tip you off, right? Like, subhanAllah, I actually want everyone to do this, right? Every single entrepreneur, and I did it right myself recently. Go back 3, 4, 5 years ago, all right? And I want you to think of yourself and review the way you used to speak, the things you wanted, the things you cared about. Right now, alhamdulillah, I've been recording videos on my phone and on my Snapchat since I was very young, even before I chose to go actually public on the social media. But, you know, I had all these private stories and these journals, these Telegram channels, and where I used to just talk to myself literally. So alhamdulillah, it was quite easy for me. Like, I know some people may not have it as easy, but try to find, you know, the old self. And the reason I say this is because I want every entrepreneur to listen to this statement. On the path to becoming better, sometimes a lot of things can become worse, right? And that's the truth of the majority of entrepreneurs. As we start to grow, you know, finances become better, our lives become better in certain elements. There's a lot of elements in which we've gotten worse over time. And it's actually worth going back, seeing what kind of person am I? Like, what kind of person was I? What are the things that I cared about? Has it changed for the better or for the worse? Going back over all of those things is really, really beneficial.
And what are some things that you're like, wow, like this is completely wrong the way I used to do?
Wrong. 100% the hustle, man. I was a big believer in the hustle culture. I mean, it's why I fight it with, you know, with every bit of blood I have inside me. I was a big believer in the hustle culture. I thought what you have to do is just hustle, work. And then, you know, you start to become older, you know, you start to grow, and you realize that that's ineffective for your business, it's ineffective for your life, it's ineffective for your family, and it's ineffective for your akhirah. And that was my biggest realization. Now, is there going to be certain periods where you're working more than average, more than normal? Yes, that's completely fine. But don't turn it into a lifestyle. Yeah. A lot of the times we turn it into a lifestyle and then everything goes out of balance.
For majority of people, that's just the hustle. That's just the foundation.
Yeah, but they're literally running between points, right? Family, then he's a businessman, then he's a fitness.
How long is that going to go on for? It's like, it's never going to really end.
The truth of the matter is, it's so horrible to be in that. But the first thing you need to do is acknowledge, and this is where majority, you see, because it's been made feel like it's okay and it's normal, that's why people aren't seeking solutions to like live differently. Like, I hear people say like, oh yeah, it's like saying, yeah, I have an infection in my stomach. Yeah. Like that's not okay.
Yeah.
And you hear entrepreneurs say like, yeah, I'm bouncing from XYZ, but that's fine. It's just part of the, no, it's not okay.
I don't
it doesn't
even
have
think
to be
it's
that
just
way.
a normal thing. It's actually like
It's encouraged. It's a badge of honor.
Like, oh yeah,
I'm burnt out, but I'm still working through. That's not healthy. It's like me telling you like, I'm sick and I'm still like, you know, in the gym, or my muscles are ripped and I'm still lifting on top of the muscle that's torn. That's not praiseworthy.
The 3 a.m. screenshots, you know what I'm saying? I'm working on my laptop.
Yeah, that's not good, bro. It's 3 a.m. Go pray to Hajjud, bro. Like, do you get what I'm saying? Like, I'm so sad to what the space has been made look like. And like I said, like, over time, you're going to start to see, and I speak to these people, and it's deteriorating their health, right?
صح. And you're going to see all of the time, Mara, you know, he's got a heart problem, heart attack, this and that. It's like, well, you look perfectly fine and healthy, yeah, but there's so many things you're not taking into consideration.
100%.
I want to talk about performance, productivity. You're thinking deep flow. You're thinking reading the books, you know, I don't know, Pomodoro techniques. But this is the real stuff, because, like, how would you even define productivity in the first place? Because people misunderstand it, and that's why, hence, these problems come into play in the first place.
Really good, really good question. I really like that question. How would I define productivity? Productivity is the efficiency of action, right? So how efficient you are in actions. It's not how long you work for. And that's the biggest misconception we have today. People think I'm productive because I've been working for 8-9 hours. But for us to judge whether you're productive or not, we need to see your efficiency of the work that you were doing. Was it work that you could have done in 3 hours? So that's not productivity, right? You're a hard worker, whatever, but that's not real work. It's always in business. It's always, we understand this, and we've said it so many times, work smarter than you do hard, right? But a lot of entrepreneurs just work hard, but they don't work smart. They're not working with their biology. They don't know how things work, how to actually do things in the littlest amount of time possible. All right, how to do things in the most effective way possible, to where they get the quickest results. If I tell you, like, you know, go to, you know, I don't know, go to the other side, go to Eswira. All right, imagine you go to Agadir first, and then you go to Eswira. Right, you're driving much more hours than me. You're probably driving what, extra 2 hours than me.
Yeah.
Right. That doesn't make you productive. It makes you foolish. Why the hell would you go to Agadir first when you could have just went straight to Eswira? The whole point of what I'm trying to say is what? Go straight. Right? Go straight. It's more productive in anything to get things done in the quickest, easiest way possible. And if you're getting things done in a way that is difficult, that is not praiseworthy, and that's not from the deen at all whatsoever.
100%. Okay, and so with this whole hustle culture that we have, then kind of what is the real hidden cost that comes as a result of it?
Family, man. Family and your deen, which are two very, very important things.
Something you can't actually put on social media.
Yeah, I remember, subhanAllah, like, I thought to myself one day, like, I haven't spoke to my parents in a while, you know? And like, it was a couple of weeks at that point. It was just texts here and there, but I hadn't properly spoken to them. I just thought, subhanAllah, like, if Allah took away one of their lives, how would I feel? All right? Knowing that I wasn't deeply connected with them at that time, right? Like, what would be the point of even business after that? I remember reflecting, like, I used to always say, like, if my mum, and I ask Allah to grant our parents long life, bi'idhnillah al-kareem, and to forgive their shortcomings, to have mercy on them, and to preserve them. But it just made me think, like, if something ever happened to my mum, then none of this is worth it anymore. All right? So what's the point in having that mentality and just hoping, rather than building that relationship now? Because it's not like it's be successful or business or be close with your family. You can do both. And I think that's really what entrepreneurs need to come to an understanding. You can do both. All right? You can.
But to be honest with you, I disagree. Because for a majority of entrepreneurs, that's not the case. They can't, because the way they live their lives, it's so chaotic that they can't.
Because they haven't built the right systems. Like, look, honestly, bro, I don't know how people live without systems. Right? Whenever I speak to anybody, majority of the problems in their life comes from issues within one area of their life. Like, a system within one area of their life is just messed up, and it's affecting every other system.
Everyone says systems, but what do you mean?
A system is just
Let me hook that. Everyone talks about systems, but what does it actually mean?
Yes, a system essentially is just how a process goes, right? So it's the inputs, the processes, then the outputs, and the feedback that feeds back into the inputs, right? So there's systems and then there's subsystems. Subsystems are little systems that make a part of a bigger system, all right? As an example, like we've talked about, a human being is the best system, right? how we work, what are the inputs, etc. We have different parts of our body, etc. Different systems within our body, circulatory system, digestive system, whatever you want, loads of different systems. And all those systems work together to what? To allow you to function, right? So if you look at it, if one of your systems are broken, everything else is going to take a toll, right? That's just the way we've been built as human beings. That's why when you're sick, you feel it, right? And other things are off. So it's the same thing. When you look at your life, if you haven't taken care of the systems of your life, if just one of those systems is off, it's going to affect every other system. So that's why you need to understand, what are the systems of me? What are the different systems in my life? And how can I actually take care of them and troubleshoot them, engage in feedback loops to understand how to improve them over time?
Okay, I'll give you an example. Okay, so I'm sure majority of the entrepreneurs listening to this have parents, and we want to spend more time with them, or the family, or the wife, or whatever, the kids. But because of the way you're talking about have to create a system, are you talking about kind of having, maybe a dinner every 2 weeks or going out with them? Or what are we talking about? Because, like, for example, if we do that, what ends up happening is I'm there, but my mind is just stuck on business.
That's an issue due to another system.
Okay.
Does that make sense? So the fact that you don't know how to focus, turn off, the business mode, that's another issue, right? And entrepreneurs who tell me I'm on business mode 24/7 is who I am. Yeah, good luck on the akhirah. Really, seriously, because if you're in business mood 24/7, I can expect you're in business mood in Salah as well, which is problematic, right? In Tarawih, you're in business mode. In Tahajjud, you're in business mode as well, which is problematic. That is an issue, right? Okay. You should be able to switch on and off. Right? Especially, I'm not saying you're not a businessman. Of course, it's part of your identity. But to turn off like work, you have to be able to do that. Right? So that's an issue when we talk about, like, the cognitive system, the cognitive system and the mental system. That's an issue over there. Right? Your inability to be able to turn off and just focus with your family, or just focus, on your wife or your kids, and you're still thinking about business, that shows that there's a clear issue with your cognitive system. So that system is now affecting what? Family time. And you're always going to pay the price of that. And that's the cost of not understanding the systems of you and not being able to take care of those systems as well.
Okay, so you're basically saying there's like an interconnected nature between all of them.
100%.
That can't be separated.
Life is interconnected, bro. Right? One of the things that you have to take into account is everything affects everything. And that's something I always have to remember. And that's why when you understand that, you become so much more intentional about your actions. Because you understand that this understands like what I'm choosing to drink right now it's affecting me. It plays a role. The inputs will always affect the what? The outputs. So the fact that I'm putting in, alhamdulillah, it's water, so it's not a problem. But the fact that I'm putting water right now is going to affect certain things. Okay, if it's really close to bedtime, it's going to affect my sleep, right? If that affects my sleep, what happens? I can't work effectively the next morning. Exactly. If I can't work effectively the next morning, what happens? I go likely into a bad mood, which gets taken out on my kids, etc. And this is why living by design is important. Does that make sense? And every decision affects a future situation.
And that's kind of the thing that you always do is you go through, even when live by design, before even talking any theory, we're just going to go first straight 360 audit, have a deep understanding of you before even trying to design any system, because you have to know what the problems with the existing systems are. Yeah.
You see, the problem is entrepreneurs today really lack self-awareness. And I'll tell you why this is scary. Are you ready? Like, this is actually a groundbreaking discovery I had. Entrepreneurs are the worst when it comes to self-awareness. Do you know why that is?
Ego.
Because they actually think they're self-aware. So many people, you tell them, look, you lack the ability, you lack self-awareness. They're like, yeah, fair enough. Like, I'm not very aware sometimes, etc. Majority of entrepreneurs, they think they have this strong understanding of themselves. In truth, they don't, all right? I'm not saying they don't understand themselves, but it's surface level. They don't understand the deeper things to why they do things, how they are, why they think the way they do, right? But they think they do. It's like an example. A man who is sick, who knows he's sick, is better than a man who is sick who thinks he's healthy.
No.
Right? It's so dangerous for a man to be sick, but he really believes he's healthy. Because at least the man who is sick, but knows he's sick, seeks solutions and cures to his illness. But majority of entrepreneurs are genuinely ill, but they're not even aware that they're ill in terms of this self-awareness. And you see, self-awareness And that's why, like, I always say, like, if you want to understand a entrepreneur, a lot of the times just have a conversation with his wife, right? Or his family. And when you have these conversations, and I swear I do it for all my clients, right? Sometimes when I see they a bit like, you know, egotistical, right? And it's fine. We deal with clients of different types, right? They have strong egos. The first thing I get them to do is, okay, I need you to go to every member of your family. Since you know yourself so well, no problem, I agree. And go and ask them for honest feedback. They always come back and be like, I didn't know I had all these things. I didn't even realize this for us. And that's the thing. The clients that came with the most ego, as we went through the program, they were like, wow, literally one of the clients mentioned to me, right? He says every call is like a discovery call. Every call I'm learning something new about myself. Every call I'm understanding me. And I thought I knew who I was. But if you don't really know how to dig deeper and find out who the real you is and understand your mind, you're always going to be faced with issues.
Okay, there's a couple of principles there that I think it's a prerequisite to have in order to have that trait where he's able to take that information and say that, oh, Fawaz, I'm learning something new every time. Number one, of course, he has to build that awareness, that consciousness, and also the ability to take on that feedback. Because if he doesn't accept that there's even potential, like in any system, let's say, okay, there's an input, there's a process, then there's the output, and then there's a feedback. But if you don't even accept that there is a problem in the output in the first place, you wouldn't even try changing, which is actually the majority of entrepreneurs because of what you said, right? In terms of they think they're already aware, so they don't have anything to fix.
100%. I think entrepreneurs who engage, like we've mentioned so many times, but entrepreneurs who engage in feedback loops are always going to be more successful than ones who don't. As a human being, the more feedback loops you engage in, the more you engage in feedback loops, the more successful you become. That's the law as an entrepreneur, as a human being, anything. Every system becomes better with feedback, right? Every system becomes what? Better with feedback. Because if you have to understand what does feedback do, it gives us an opportunity to affect the inputs, to change the inputs or the processes, right? Naturally, when we change the inputs and the processes, what happens? The output is generally always going to be affected, right? If you change what's going in, you're always going to change what's coming out. Or if you change the process of what happens when it's in, you're going to change the output. And I think that's such an important thing for entrepreneurs to actually understand. Like, you have a leverage point here in being able to like engage in feedbacks. And that's why we've seen one of the things that drives our clients to very, very fast success is what? The end of the week reports. Right. So at the end of each week, they have to report what happened this week. How's my performance out of 5, right? For example, my performance was a 1 out of 5. Okay, why? What went wrong this week? This is what went right this week. That the next. What are we doing for next week? What do we intend to do for next week? See, that gives you the opportunity to come to next week with already intent. And it also gives you an opportunity to do what majority of entrepreneurs don't do, which is actually reflect on the past week. What happened? What didn't go quite well? Why didn't that go quite well? Okay, and how can I fix that for next week? What that gives you, like last week, ideally should give you clarity as to how your next week is going to go. Right? You're plugging in the things that went right and you're doubling down on them, and you're also getting rid of the things that messed you up.
Okay. Even when it comes to consciousness and awareness, it's easy to say you're aware, but you don't know what you need to be aware about in the first place. So what are some things that they need to kind of start focusing on and start looking? Okay,
we talk about it. So you need to look at the systems of you, right? You see, I'm not doubting you're aware, but it's likely you're aware in one element of your life, but you lack awareness in other areas of your life.
Or brush it to the side type.
Right? Exactly. So maybe you're very, very strong in one area of awareness, like you're really aware of how your deen works with things that affect your deen, or really aware in your business, which a lot of them are, right? I mean, they can tell you how much they make every month, down to the T, down to the cent, right? Down to the pence. But when it comes to actually being aware on other things, their relationships, etc., what affects them, a lot of the times they don't know. If you look at it, bro, like human beings, like we're creatures of repetition, right? Meaning, like a lot of the times, the same one thing is going to cause something that caused something. If it's done again, it's going to cause it again. If it's done again, it's going to cause it again. So the fact that we haven't been able to understand that and prevent things from occurring just shows how bad our feedback loops are. The fact that we're going through the same problems a lot of the times and we deal with the same struggles just shows a weakness in feedback loops, really and truly. right? Because had you actually realized and discovered the relationship between X and Z, X and Y, right? You would just know how to prevent Y from happening because you understand that these two things are correlated, these things are interrelated, and every single like I can tell you, for example, right? There's a direct correlation between, how I feel at the end of the day and how much time I spent alone, right? 100%. So if I don't spend a certain amount of time in a day alone, I can tell you 100% I'm going to, my mood towards the end of the day, my performance isn't like how I'm going to feel as a result of that in the next upcoming days is going to be problematic, right? So what's that taught me? Even to prevent myself from falling into those weird moods, I schedule time every day. I get away from people for some amount of time just because it helps me with reflection, with mindfulness, etc. It's just a schedule that to get away, right? There's a certain relationship with the times that, I eat certain foods, for example, that may be absolutely fine for you. I've understood my relationship with those foods that I can't eat this at XYZ time. Otherwise, it's problematic. So the more of an understanding you get on yourself, the more you're actually able to perform because you know what interferes. And when we go back to this, right, what is performance? Performance is what? Potential minus interference. You need to understand what are the interferences in your life. And a lot of the times entrepreneurs don't understand that things are interferences. And those are the things that are limiting your potential and stopping you from what? Performing. So if you want to, grow, right? And here's the problem. And this is a big problem. When majority of entrepreneurs want to grow and become better, what do they focus on? They focus on potential. How can I increase the potential of our company? How can I increase X, Y, Z? That doesn't matter. If you increase the potential, but your interferences are increasing, your company is always going to stay the same. You're going to struggle to scale. The quickest way to actually scale your company is to remove the interferences that are stopping you from scaling. And this is something you actually have to understand and take in. The quickest way, is to remove the what? The inefficiencies. When you have that mentality in anything that before I add anything, I'm going to see what first can I remove. And this is what I refer to as the law of subtraction, right? It's the actual law of looking, what can I remove from my life? Because the more interferences that are there, the more problems I'm going to have, right? And the more things that are going to block my potential.
Most entrepreneurs do the opposite. They try to add more.
Yes. And the truth is entrepreneurs don't have a starvation problem. They have an indigestion problem. They have so much that they can't digest the information. The same thing when it comes to information, when it comes to social interactions, they have an indigestion problem. There's so much they want to do. There's so much things in front of them. They're overstimulated. They don't know what path to take. Whereas they believe they have a starvation problem. So it always leads them to think, what? We need more. We need more. We need more. One of our clients, we were able to increase his revenue, right? Double his revenue. Just to clarify, as in double. 2x. In what? In a short space of time from what? From reducing. We cut his employees down. We realized they didn't need that much many people. All right? One thing people don't understand is the more people isn't just necessarily the more cost, but also the more what? The more social currency. All right? Mental currency. It has to be paid because you have to interact with these people. You have to take care of them. So each person comes with what? A cost. And that's the truth of the matter. Then, apart from that, what else do we have to understand, right? Okay, so when we doubled his revenue, we cut down his employees. So naturally, his profit is also a lot more because he's not paying as much in salaries, quite obviously. So his revenue increased, right? From only reducing, that's all we did. His revenue increased. We reduced his work time as well. So now he's more effective, right? Working less hours, making more money, paying less salaries. Win, 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 win. All from reduction.
Less cognitive load.
Yes. All from reduction. We didn't add anything new into his company. We removed. And that's why the first thing entrepreneurs need to do, rather than looking what to add, what can we remove? And that's what we really focus on in terms of performance. When I'm looking at the 360 audit, one of the first questions I ask myself is, what doesn't need to be here, that is?
Okay. So it's not about a new marketing strategy. It's not about hiring a new person. It's not about...
I'm not saying these things, like technicals are important. I really, really, really want to clarify that because people might hear me sometimes and misunderstand me. Technicals are important, but I'm saying you don't rise to the level of your technicals, you fall to the level of your performance. So all because you have the best technical ability doesn't mean what? You're going to actually succeed. Performance will always beat talent. Performance will always beat potential, right? If you can't learn to perform at the highest level, people who will are going to beat you. It doesn't matter how good your company is, how purpose-driven you are. It doesn't matter. They perform better than you.
Okay, so you see, when it comes to like the whole like biological side of things, right? So we know that we have to optimize for sleep. We have dopamine. We have overstimulation. Like, where does, especially like in terms of all this, what's the first thing that someone should optimize looking at before anything else? Like the biggest, let's say, performance drug.
That's different for everyone, to be honest with you, right? It's all about focusing on your biggest bottleneck, right? Your sleep could be an issue, for example, but it's not your biggest issue, right? Your nutrition could be an issue, but it's not your biggest issue, right? Now, naturally, the mind is very, very similar to the body in a sense that it has like a threshold, right? So, for example, when you go to the gym, you might get to a stage where, you genuinely can't lift anymore. Your mind has the same thing. This is really important to understand why I'm going to break it down to you, okay? The reason I say this is so important to understand is because naturally, if you try to fix a million things at once, like we said, your mind is it's like a muscle, right? Eventually, it gets tired and just give up. So if you can imagine, right, let's say, I'm going to give you a perfect example, right? Cookies. You like cookies, right?
Yeah.
Now, imagine I put you in a room full of cookies, but you're on a diet right now, okay? So all day you've been fighting yourself to what? To not eat cookies. And you managed to. You fought it quite well. And at the end of the day, you're not supposed to be scrolling as well. What happens is, a lot of the times, towards the end of the day, although you don't feel like you were supposed to scroll as well, you're going to end up scrolling. Why is that? Because you see this whole concept of self-control, right? You only have like a limit. It's very weak in the sense that like the more things you have to fight against and control yourself over, by the end of the day, the more likely, once that muscle feels worn down, it's less strong. So your ability to like do the hard things at the start of the day versus the end of the day are two completely different things. Why? Because you've worn out this muscle. This is why it's actually important to create an environment where you don't need self-control. In your example, keeping cookies away from you in the first place, then you won't have to fight the urge so much. All right? Does that make sense? So this is why I say it's important to understand what is the biggest bottleneck and creating an environment in where you don't need, I'm not saying don't train your self-control. Of course, self-control is important and it should be trained, but don't train your self-control by putting yourself in these ugly situations. There's other ways, more effective ways to train your self-control in the gym, okay, while you're running, etc. When you're actually doing adhkar as well, because you're challenging your mind to stay focused. That all helps, by the way. All of those things aid you. So my point is, I don't leave myself down to willpower or down to motivation. I create and we design, and this is the same thing we do for our clients. We design the environment in a way where they're going to thrive. Does that make sense? Environment design is probably one of the most important aspects of what we do as well, right? Because if we can design the way they live their life, their environment, everything to make sure that they become successful, that's 9/10.
What does it mean to design your life?
Perfect. The environment, right, is what you're asking, or their life in general?
What does it mean to design your environment?
Yeah, to design your environment is your surroundings, right? So it's a lot of things, right? It's your relationships as well, the people you hang out with, etc. Right? As well down to like where you live, where you are, how your room looks. One thing you've probably realized as well about me, like I like things in particular places. It's not because I'm like weird or specific. It's because I understand it makes it easy for my mind. Does that make sense? Like, for example, one of the things that I don't do is I try my best not to do anyway. I don't leave a charger in my room, in my bedroom. Why? Because by the end of the day, a lot of the times my phone is low battery, right? And I just don't want to charge it. And that encourages it. It's going to die by the time I wake up, most likely. So in the morning, I have to stick it in the charger, which stops me from using my phone in the morning. Right? Okay. As well, if you look at the applications on my phone, right? I've removed, again, it's part of environmental design, how your phone works. I've removed every application on my phone that doesn't need to be there. I hate things taking up space because it's more cognitive load. I've turned off notifications for every app that shouldn't have notifications, things that I don't care about. For majority of my emails, etc., I don't really care. Does that make sense?
No.
So I've limited what's my surface point, my surface area, if you will.
I see what you mean, man.
Right? So I'm making as much space for me to focus on the things that matter, and I'm removing, for example, okay, after I'm supposed to go to the masjid, pray 5 times a day. Part of environmental design is making sure I don't live far away from the masjid. Right? Even in the way I park the car, I don't know if you've realized, but whenever it's the time for Isha, I park it to where it's what? It's facing the direction I need to go in for the masjid. Normally I park the other way. But for Isha, after I pray Isha in the mosque, I park it this way for it to be everything is just designed to make the process easy. That way I rely as little as possible on motivation, willpower, all of those things.
That takes an incredible amount of awareness, though. Like, I think for majority, I wouldn't be wrong if I said 95% of people couldn't even use their minds to go that far. Like, they really need it.
People look at those things and like that's just being extra for no reason. But these things add up. Right?
Yeah.
Like making sure the food in my house is constantly clean, it adds up, right? Over the long term, I'm using my mind less because things are just designed in a way that I need them to be, right? So there's when your life isn't designed to give you what you want it to be, there's a lot of tweaking and turning around. But when it is, it's just, it's like, it's sort of like, when you're swimming, but there's just such a strong push up behind you. That's almost like you don't really have to swim very hard.
Yeah.
It's like the water is pushing you. But the opposite is actually true. When your life is designed against, against what you want to achieve, against the way you're supposed to perform, etc. It's like the waves are this way, you're trying to swim that way.
Yeah.
It takes a lot. I'm not saying you can't get through.
Yeah.
I'm saying it takes way more
There's
effort.
no need to do it.
Exactly, 100%. And it's not praiseworthy, despite what you may think. It's like saying, to get closer to Allah, I'm going to put myself in a place of fitna. It's just to test and, show out my iman is strong. No, you're just opening up yourself to more dangers and more difficulties. There's other ways to test your iman, right?
No, 100%. And even the example that you gave about the masjid, I remember we spoke to Ustad Imran about it, and he was like from where he used to live before, the masjid was like 15 minutes away, which means that there's 15 minutes to go, maybe 20 minutes to stay. So each time he's going to pray salah, he's probably spending around 40 minutes to an hour. 5 times a day, hours upon hours. And then people talk about what? I don't have enough time in a day. This is because you didn't look at all these things. You didn't take all these things into consideration. You didn't design it.
And by the way, you might be thinking, but there's a million aspects of my life, right? That's why it's important to understand my non-negotiables. Like, what are my non-negotiables? Things that like I just have to do, right? Things that are important to me that I have to do, and design your life according to that. All right, design your life according to that. Limit distractions as much as possible. Like, literally, and that's the benefit of being so intentional. Like, I understand what time I get done with Fajr. More or less. Obviously, Salah time changes, but it's 1 to 2 minutes like per day, right? You understand what time you get done with Fajr, how long it takes you to read this amount of Quran, how much everything. When you're operating like that, what happens is naturally, when you build that sort of like consistency of linking actions with other actions, you don't really miss them.
So,
does that make sense? So let's say, for example, every time you go to the masjid to pray Fajr, you do your adhkar sitting down, you come home, you read Quran, and then you continue with your day, right? You get straight into work. So that builds like a sequence of actions that are all grouped together in your mind. So you link Fajr with adhkar with Quran. It's all one, right? It's like Jum'ah. Some people, for them, Jum'ah is just Friday prayer. For some people, it's, the most important Friday prayer, the most important Fajr prayer. Then I have to do Kahf. And then I have to do what? Jum'ah prayer, etc. When the actions are linked, right, you are much more likely to achieve success with them. And that's why I believe in design, right?
Sorry. And even among that, like, for example, having a white film and this, it's like, there's just so many triggers that you're okay. Well, today's Jummah. There's already a habit. There's already this. You already know. Okay, I'm going to go here. This. Everything's already planned out. You have alarm set for Sa'at al-Istijaba. Such a design system.
100%, and you're far more likely to achieve success this way. Like, everything has been, like, for me, just really become systemized. And whenever something is broken, I can quickly tell, right? Because then it affects me in another way. Like, even you every Thursday, it's my thobe has to come back. My white thobe comes at night time. Boom, done. Right? Every Thursday, they understand white thobe. There's a process, there's a sequence to how things run.
So that means you're also training other people who are involved in the system to work in
And
accordance
that has to be
yours.
done because, like, even for example, you know, we'd have days where when I took Wednesday as my replenish day, you know, you're asking me, I thought I was about this. I'm like, I'm not answering you. Today is Wednesday. I don't think or talk work, anything about work on Wednesday. I just choose not to. And you have to, I really believe you have to have a day like that, right? For the sake of your own mind and allowing your mind to think about the other things that isn't business that you should be focusing on, right? So I don't think about anything on Wednesdays to do with work. You know, any work that gets so it's training the people, EA, you, everyone within the company, every stakeholder that on Wednesday, it's just better to just, let's not reach out to this guy on Wednesday. Right? Because what you need to understand is how you behave, people will get used to that. All right? So, for example, if I make it A-okay for people to talk to me about work anytime, then people are naturally going to, if you don't create boundaries, people will never respect them. People aren't going to put boundaries for you. You are the one who builds boundaries around how you operate. Right? And now some people, the boundaries aren't going to be good for everyone. That's fine. But this is how I operate, right? Now, it doesn't mean sometimes we can't, you know, open up certain things, etc. But I'm saying you have to train people in your life to get used to your system. People tell me, try having a system when you have 20 kids. Yeah, teach them your system. They understand the system when they go to school. They understand they need to get into a line right before they enter the classroom, and when they need to put their hands up before they speak. They understand that system when they go to school. So it's your fault for not putting the systems and setting the boundaries in your home, for example. With your wife, same thing. You didn't set those boundaries. That's on you. All right?
Part of every system, and especially when it comes to people, yourself, there's also a reward punishment system as a result of that
100%.
as well. So if someone disobeys, or even if yourself, you disobey your system, there's already a punishment designed in accordance to the person.
Precisely. Precisely. Like, I'm telling you, like, it's so beneficial sometimes to have, like, just no. I don't do that. Or right now, no. I can't right now, right? And that's why I say as an entrepreneur, like, no has to become like a superpower for you. You have to get used to saying no. This is something I say all the time. Like, if me not working one day is going to cause me to lose business, then so be it, right? But I'm not willing to give up my day. And the reason I say that is because, first of all, two things. I'm going to make a lot more money with a clearer mind. So whatever I lose on the Wednesday to Wednesday, whatever, will not make up for what I would have lost had I not taken those Wednesdays off. Had I not taken that day off. And secondly, if your business can't function because you took one day off, your business is crap. And I said it, something needs work. Yeah, something needs work. That's a clear problem in your business systems. Now, of course, it depends on the size of the entrepreneur, etc. But the entrepreneurs I'm talking to, right, something needs work. Here are two really key things, right? Because I always hear noise about taking days off. Here are two really important things about taking days off. Number one, taking a day off every day, every week, is actually going to make you more money in the long run. You see, a lot of entrepreneurs think, okay, but I'm going to lose the money of that day, right? Or maybe I'm going to miss out on business that day. But you're actually going to miss out on far more business as a result of working all of those days than taking that specific day every week off. Why? Because your mind isn't clear, right? The clarity you're going to gain from that day off will drive your business a lot further than working on those days, all right? And number two, if your business suffers because you take one day off, there's a clear issue with your business systems that needs to be repaired. You have issues. Your business has issues. So if you're ready to be able to take some time off while still scaling your companies and everything gets successful, then just comment the word design below and I'll help you design the systems to allow you to do so.
So you see, when it comes to replenishing and stuff, right? You also talked about like how, because we as entrepreneurs, we make a lot of decisions on a day-to-day basis. You talk about, okay, every day a week, there should be a day where you're really, really, really reducing the amount of decisions you're making in the day.
Not every day.
I mean, what?
Not in it one day, every day.
Okay, every day.
Yeah, you should reduce the amount. Ideally.
But why though?
Yeah, because you have decision fatigue, right? People don't understand what decision fatigue is. Entrepreneurs need to understand decision fatigue, right? And decision fatigue is a real thing. Like we said, your mind is just similar to like a muscle in your body, right? So your mind, whenever you make decisions, the more decisions you make in a day, naturally, by the end of the day, the worse your decision-making abilities become, right? So the less effective decisions you actually start to make. And this is why, as the leader of a company, you shouldn't actually care about micromanaging or making every single little small decision. You should just care about the really key decisions that we can't come back from if there's a mistake made. The big drivers, decisions that are movers and shakers. Those are the things that you mainly want to focus on, right? Leave the other questions or the other little decisions, etc. Leave that to someone else that you trust. Even if he gets the job done half good, as I said, if you look at it, in the grand scheme of things, in like the bigger picture, you will actually achieve more. Your business will be far more successful with you not making those decisions than making all of those decisions. Because when those big decisions comes, a lot of the reasons why we can't create, or when the big stress comes, why do we fall? Because we spend all of our power and our mental capabilities, our mental strength on these little issues. They added up. So now when the big issues come, it's like we feel like we're fried. I can't. So focus on the big things that drive the company forward.
And when you're saying big and small decisions, obviously your mind doesn't know how to differentiate between business decisions, financial decisions, family decisions, the right meal in the restaurant.
Look, it's worth understanding that we all have things that we like and we care about. Just understand what those things are.
No.
Right? So for example, like when I go to a restaurant, I know what I eat, at what times I eat. Right? My EA, she has a list of what I eat, how I eat. So I don't have to worry about those things. All right? That's one decision. Call it silly, but I don't want to make that decision.
No.
Right? Again, let's say, which car am I going to take, right? Just maybe have it, if you have a lot of cars, just create a system for that as well.
Yeah.
Right? The idea is any decision that doesn't need to be made by me, or that isn't, like I always say, like, bro, if it's not going to cause a big difference to my life, like just make it. Worst case scenario, we'll just like edit it after. I actually gave out to my EA about this, right? Like a couple of weeks ago. I was like, stop texting me about these things and these things being sorted out. I don't care about how they're going in the background. Just once it's on my calendar. Worst case scenario, if it's on my calendar, don't tell me, should I put it in this slot or that slot? Just put it in a slot. Worst case scenario, if we need to change that after, we'll just change it after. But to ask me a million, is it going to be this or that? And you're going to, like I said, people won't know your boundaries if you don't teach them. So naturally, they're going to always come to you with questions and how should I do this? Until you start to teach them that I don't care, I'm not answering, come up with it yourself, find the solution. So I actually started doing what, as you've seen, is a lot of the times the team message me, I just air them. I really don't respond, all right? I don't respond. I don't care. The deadline's set and they know they have to meet it on the deadline. So what does that do? Well, for us, isn't responding. So we just need to come to a solution. So now they're getting used to coming to solutions without needing my intervention. If it's wrong, no biggie. We're going to review it.
No.
We're going to look back and we're going to correct it and we're going to engage in feedback loops. But that's the only way you get better at making decisions. Because if I never allow those decisions to be made, they'll never get good at them and it's always going to fall on top of me.
Okay, so I think just to kind of summarize this whole episode, a lot of the stuff comes into foundational issue of a mindset in terms of, first of all, they don't want to change. They don't see themselves having a problem. Hopefully by the end of this podcast, they're going to see, okay, well, a lot of these things definitely apply to me. So what's the first thing that person can do to just automatically get some sort of big win in terms of their peak performance?
Just start to review yourself, all right? Start to review, start to understand yourself, and just book a call with us. It's a free consultation. We're going to look at your life, we're going to audit it, and we're going to see how we can improve.
Us
and that's literally it.
Us or you?
Me. You're going to book a call with myself. I'm going to get on call with you, and I'm going to aid you in getting to where you need to be. It's quite simple. Barakallah feekum, guys, and I'll see you in the next one. If you would like to learn to perform effectively, to beat things like burnout, a lack of self-belief, and all of these issues that majority of entrepreneurs are facing, then I want you to go to the description and book a call with myself, and we'll help you get exactly to where you need to be. Assalamu alaikum.